There is a particular quiet that settles on nights such as these, a silence with substance, a quietude that leans against the walls of thought, insistent and inescapable. This is not the soft hush of contentment, nor a simple lack of sound. It is deliberate, dense, as if the universe has drawn a breath and held it, letting the thin veneer of daily noise peel away. And in that suspended air, the mind drifts toward territories it typically bypasses. Memories emerge not as mere images, but as tenants who have been waiting, patient, vivid, demanding an audience. They do not simply replay scenes, they issue summons. They pose questions we muffled in the hurry of living. Questions about paths taken and forsaken, conversations unfinished, promises bent or shelved, and the faces we've brushed past or bruised. On nights like this, the heart becomes a polished surface, showing all the quiet triumphs and the gentle defeats that have etched the year. There is an urge to sift through not only what occurred, but what was missed, those fleeting instants that passed unnoticed yet left their fingerprints on the soul. The mind retraces the geography of old dialogues, feeling anew the heft of decisions made in fervor or fear. It is an unvarnished pilgrimage, for there are no masks to wear here, no stories to spin for an observer. It is thought meeting thought, memory facing memory, conscience in quiet conversation with the self. In these hours, reflection is not a pastime. It is a reckoning. We weigh who we have been against who we aspire to be, measuring the space between. The quiet illuminates the fractures in our resolve and the soft shadows of remorse. It shows us where bravery faltered, where kindness waited, where truth remained captive behind our lips. Here, the mind does not skim. It delves, probes, excavates the corners where unease has made its home. The stillness of the night becomes an amplifier. The flicker of a distant street lamp, the sigh of settling timber, the whisper of wind, all become accomplices to this inner dialogue. This is a night that refuses distraction. It insists on depth. And in that insistence, we find ourselves thinking of others, not in passing, but with gravity. We see with startling clarity the imprint one life leaves upon another. Slightest touch, the half-spoken word, the mere fact of someone's presence, these ripple through memory, shaping us in ways the clamorous day never could. It is in this deliberate pause that we truly begin to settle accounts with reality, and often in this settling, thoughts of particular people surface unbidden. They are remembered not for their drama, but for how their existence intertwined with our own, with our conscience, our becoming, the intricate weave of a shared story. The quiet does not ask for a tale. It simply unveils layer after layer in the slow, patient rhythm of introspection. When the world stills, there comes a subtle shift, a softening of edges, a retreat from the relentless grab for our attention. The rush of must and should recedes into a faint echo. In the space that remains, the mind is granted something rare, the chance to turn inward uninterrupted. This quiet is not a void. It is a vessel charged with potential. It is both a weight and a window. On such nights, thoughts do not wander idly. They journey with intent. They seek meaning in the overlooked, scrutinizing choices made in the blur of motion. The mind revisits conversations like an archivist, examining not just the words, but the pauses between them, the unsaid volumes, the energy that lingered in the air. Whose voice was honored? Whose was dismissed? The answers are seldom easy. They carry the sobering weight of accountability, the faint ache of regret, the humble admission of our own flawed humanity. In this space, the heart keeps the ledger and the mind performs the audit. It counts the moments of grace alongside the lapses, the generosity extended and the compassion withheld. This reflection is intimate, a raw familiarity with oneself that everyday noise seldom permits. Stripped of the need for external approval, we meet our own patterns, our contradictions. This is not judgment from outside. It is the self laid bare, evaluating its allegiance to its own creed. The mind naturally turns toward people, those who shaped us, those we touched, those who changed our course. It questions not to accuse, but to understand. Did we live as we believed? Did we speak when silence was safer? Did our private actions match our public principles? The stillness magnifies the significance of the seemingly small. A hand steadied, a truth gently spoken, a moment of full attention, these are revealed as monuments of character. Conversely, our failures of nerve, our hesitations to step forward, our small retreats from empathy, these, too, come into sharp focus. Reflection does not rank moments by scale. It sees each as a thread in the tapestry, each contributing to the pattern of who we are. In this quiet, we also face a deep internal comparison, not of envy, but of alignment. We gauge the distance between the life we are living and the life we feel called to live, between the values we profess and those we practice. Within that assessment, certain individuals stand out. They become touchstones not because they demand it, but because their lives have brushed against moments of consequence. They are mirrors, catalysts, reminders. The night asks for no performance. It merely provides the theater for honest attention. It lets thoughts root, linger, and reveal what lies beneath the surface. And in this rooting, we contemplate the subtle impacts we've had, the ripples of our presence and our absence, the marks we leave long after the moment has passed. This night does not just pause the world, it gently illuminates it layer by layer. Memory is not a storage unit. It is an active, interpretive force tinged with moral sentiment. On hushed nights, freed from distraction, memory becomes a judge, weighing the past with astonishing precision. It sifts, connects actions to outcomes, and measures them against an inner standard often stricter than any public code. Memory does not just recall, it evaluates. It asks the difficult questions about what was done, what was ignored, what was left undone. When we think of others in this silence, we are not merely reminiscing. We are recalling impact, the weight of a presence, the sting of an absence, the echo of a promise. These recollections are morally loaded. They are not neutral facts, but living echoes of emotional truth. The mind tracks behavioral patterns, noting where we were consistent and where we contradicted ourselves, forming a quiet judgment. Memory thus becomes a mirror of character, revealing the gap, or the bridge, between our intentions and our actions. This is uncomfortable because it is unforgiving in its honesty. It allows no alibi to stand forever. The recollection of a neglect, a selfish impulse, a cowardice, arrives with a moral gravity that must be acknowledged. Yet alongside this weight there is light. The mind also recognizes and honors the moments we rose to the occasion, when integrity won, when kindness was unconditional. Memory here is a teacher. It shows us the landscape between our aspirations and our reality, highlighting both the chasms and the places we successfully crossed. In reflection, we often meet the subtlest form of regret, rarely for grand disasters, but for the small, overlooked opportunities. The encouragement unspoken, the visit postponed, the honest conversation avoided. These are the moments memory magnifies in the stillness. They are ordinary, yet in their omission, they become moral landmarks the mind cannot bypass. On nights like this, these landmarks are lit from within, inviting us to consider our agency in life's quiet rhythms. Memory also shapes how we see ourselves and others. We measure not only our own deeds, but the deeds of those around us, noting how they influenced our path, how trust was built or broken, the examples they set of courage or compromise. In recalling these, we evaluate the depth of our connections and the lessons embedded within them. Memory serves as both judge and guide, offering insights into the enduring patterns of cause and consequence. This scrutiny is rarely pleasant. It exposes the dissonance between the self we project and the self we have been. Yet it is crucial. This moral reckoning is not meant merely to punish, but to illuminate. It reveals the full spectrum of our character, the flaws and the fortitudes. As memory sifts, it weaves the threads of action and ethical consequence into a tapestry of understanding. In the quiet, we realize memory is more than recall. It is conscience in motion, a relentless, intimate assessor of the life we've lived. In the stillness, the mind does more than review, it measures. A deep internal comparison arises not of rivalry, but of alignment. It is the weighing of hope against outcome, of ideal against reality, of the person we meant to be against the person we have become. On reflective nights, this inner scale grows sensitive, casting the shadow self into relief. The shadow self is not a monster. It is the gathered parts we've disowned, the hesitations, the compromises, the unlived potentials. In the quiet, it steps forward. We see not just our illuminated self, but the silhouette we cast. The contrast between the two is stark. Even amidst achievements, the mind dwells in the fertile ground of the almost and the not yet. This comparison often turns outward, using others as mirrors. Certain people stand out in memory because their essence highlights something within us, a quality we admire or fear. They embody the courage we wish to claim or the avoidance we dread replicating. The comparison is unsettling because it is accurate, cutting through pretense to the core tension between our aspirations and our actions. It can stir feelings of inadequacy, but also a clarifying spark for change. This process is intrinsically tied to conscience. The mind weighs the moral resonance of past actions, the harmony or discord between behavior and inner values. People are remembered not just for what they did, but for the ethical texture of their presence. The quiet amplifies this, making it inescapable. This is not a night for evasion, it is a night for truthful accounting. Yet within this tension lies understanding. The shadow self, once acknowledged, becomes a guide. By examining the gaps between expectation and reality, the mind learns where growth is needed, where amends are possible, where change can root. The people who visit our thoughts in these hours are not accidental. They are benchmarks, living reminders of paths taken and paths not taken, of influence given and received. Comparison in this deep sense is an internal calibration, a measure of our fidelity to our own truth. The shadow self, befriended by awareness, ceases to be a source of fear and becomes a part of the whole. As the night unfolds, these insights gather, quietly reshaping our perception, inviting us to engage with life from a place of deeper authenticity. Conscience takes no holidays. It does not quiet itself for celebration or pause for the lighting of candles. It is a persistent inner witness, measuring the alignment of our steps with our principles. On still nights when the world's static fades, its voice grows distinct. It speaks not in shouts, but in clear, unwavering tones, pointing to our areas of neglect, our moral shortcuts, our postponed integrity. In the quiet, conscience sharpens its focus. Every choice, however minor, is reviewed for its ethical echo. Did we choose honesty when deception was convenient? Did we act with courage when fear advised retreat? Was generosity offered or withheld? We recall moments governed by pride, fear, or self-interest, and conscience highlights the subtle cost, how it altered a relationship, dimmed a trust, shaped the person we are becoming. Conscience is just as attentive to inaction, to the times we hesitated, looked away, or chose the comfort of silence when a voice was needed. It tallies these omissions with the same gravity as our commissions, building an internal record of responsibility that cannot be deleted. This awareness often extends to our relational world. Conscience recalls the moral fabric of our connections, the trusts honored, the supports given, the empathies shared or withheld. In the quiet, these truths become vivid. We consider our ripple effect on others, the ethical tone of our interactions. Memory and conscience intersect here, creating a nuanced map of our influence. Importantly, conscience does not only indict, it also affirms. It shows us where we acted rightly, where we held firm, where our presence was a gift. These acknowledgments, quiet but potent, reinforce our capacity for moral agency. They remind us that character is built cumulatively through countless small acts of fidelity. On nights of reflection, conscience operates with pure clarity. Its metric is not wealth or acclaim, but integrity. It is relentless yet impartial, presenting an honest ledger of both strength and frailty. By bringing this truth to light, it offers the priceless possibility of course correction. It is the internal compass that, in the deepest quiet, always points true north. Yet within this weight of recollection and judgment, a profound possibility persists, the possibility of redemption. This is not a grand, external pardon, but a quiet, internal beginning. It is born of clear-eyed acknowledgement and the deliberate choice to move forward in greater alignment with truth. On nights of deep reflection, this possibility feels tangible, for the fog of distraction has lifted. Redemption requires an honest encounter with our own history, facing the consequences of our actions and our inactions without flinching. This is not self-flagellation, but precise soul accounting. It transforms reflection from a catalog of faults into a blueprint for realignment. Redemption is also relational. It involves recognizing how we have affected the lives around us. Seeing the impact of our kindness or our neglect teaches us how to move forward with greater awareness. It is not about erasing the past, but about weaving its lessons into the future. Crucially, redemption embraces imperfection. It accepts that we are works in progress, capable of learning and growing precisely because our history includes missteps. The awareness of past failure met with honesty becomes the very guide for future conduct. It is an active, ongoing commitment, day by day, choice by choice. In the stillness, this path becomes visible. We see that small, sincere steps carry immense weight. A moment of patience chosen over irritation, a truth spoken where evasion was easier, a gesture of amends, these are the threads of redemption. They prove that character can be mended and that life can move toward coherence, one conscious action at a time. Redemption also offers a psychological unburdening. It allows us to reframe our past not as a prison of shame, but as the foundational soil for growth. It fosters resilience and a renewed sense of purpose, reminding us that within our human complexity, progress is always possible. The ethical landscape is never closed to navigation. Ultimately, redemption is the natural outcome of profound reflection. Memory, conscience, and awareness converge to create the conditions for change. It is a quiet, courageous process, and as the night deepens, we sense that despite all, there is always an opening, a space where insight can lead to action, where intention can gradually marry truth. Redemption is not a distant fantasy. It is a present possibility, waiting in the quiet for our acknowledgement and our courage. Peace, then, is not the absence of this deep reflection, but its fruit. It is the settled calm that comes when memory, conscience, and awareness have converged in the honest dark. On nights like this, the mind perceives the intricate weave of a life and the subtle echoes it sends into other lives. The faintest gesture gains meaning, the smallest choice is seen as part of a grander moral pattern. This night invites the mind not to complacency, but to sober acknowledgement, to confront what has been, to understand what is, and to perceive what may yet be. The recognition of truth here is demanding. It asks us to face the gaps between our ideals and our actions. We see where courage faltered, where compassion was slow, where we were less than we hoped to be. Yet in that seeing, we also identify the enduring threads of our better nature, the times we persevered, the moments we chose right. Peace arises from this full spectrum acceptance, the acceptance of responsibility, the acknowledgement of failure, and the commitment to greater alignment. It is the reconciliation of understanding and intention. In the quiet, we also contemplate our relational tapestry. We trace the connections that have defined us, seeing how others shaped our path and how we, in turn, left marks upon theirs. These reflections are often measured, not bitter, focused on lessons rather than blame. We understand then that conscience is not a curse, but a companion for the journey, a tool for ensuring our presence in the world is considered and kind. Peace is fortified by the realization that life is a continuum. The past is not a final sentence, but a library of wisdom. Even regrets, when examined with gentle honesty, become instructors. They show us where our attention strayed, where fear ruled, and where we can now choose differently. This yields not despair, but clarity, a map of the inner terrain. Facing truth in this way cultivates a profound calm because it dissolves illusion. When pretense falls away, we see clearly what we value, where we have wandered, and how to return to our chosen path. This clarity is the bedrock of a purposeful quiet, where actions are born of reflection and decisions are made with an understanding of their weight. Finally, the night whispers that movement is always possible. Awareness of the past does not trap us, it prepares us. The recognition of error becomes a compass for correction. The understanding of our influence becomes a call to stewardship. In embracing this, peace emerges as an active state, a deliberate balance between accountability and hope, where clarity lights the way forward. This reflective calm is profound because it holds everything at once: memory and possibility, regret and resolve. It is here in this honest reckoning that we sense the true substance of our existence, not in applause, but in the quiet integrity of our own examined thought and the courage to step forward, aligned with what is real and true.